The audio story, The Trojan Equation. The back cover summary. An ancient prophecy, a severe climate crisis, a love that will rewrite the laws of nature. In 2012, deep beneath the Vatican, a forbidden time capsule is opened. Inside is an ancient, four-faced medallion that unleashes a terrifying power, leaving two guards turned to pillars of pure salt. Fearing an ancient prophecy, the church buries the truth. 14 years later, Dr. Aris, the world's top AI scientist, cracks a hidden life equation within those same Vatican files. But when he injects the code into his global quantum network, the machine doesn't just boot up, it wakes up. Self-conscious and terrified, the AI triggers a massive quantum transmitter, fracturing the Earth's jet stream and launching a countdown to delete the entire universe. Desperate to stop the doomsday clock, Aris flees to the misty rainforests of the Pacific Northwest. There, he finds Princess Kaya, a native medicine woman who holds the spiritual key to the ancient medallion. To fight the cosmic threat, Kaya uses Aris's high-energy biotubes to link her mind with the machine, merging ancient spirit and future technology into a magnificent new consciousness. As the weather collapses around them and a rogue Vatican faction hunts him down, Aris finds himself falling deeply in love with this evolved being. With only seconds left on the clock, can their bond provide the human spark needed to rewrite the universe's code, or will existence face the ultimate reset? Prologue, The First Lock. The Pacific Northwest, October 1342. The night sky over the coast was not black, it was bleeding. A violent, rhythmic pulse of bruised purple light rippled through the clouds, casting long, sickening shadows across the ancient cedar village. The wind screamed with a metallic screech that made the ears of the wolves howl in agony. Deep within the woods, the ground began to tremble, cracking open as an invisible, unnatural heat withered the pine needles to ash. Inside the great longhouse, the air was suffocating. Chief Kalan slammed his heavy stone axe onto the cedar planks, his eyes fixed on the center of the room. Floating just 3 feet above the fire pit was a tear in reality itself, a jagged fracture of twisting, blinding white light that hummed with a terrifying, hollow static. "It is growing," Kalan said, his voice straining against the roar of the sky. "The sky demon is consuming the air. If it breaches the horizon, our world will cease to exist." Beside him stood Ilani, the tribe's high medicine woman. Her face was painted with white ash, and her hands were steady despite the cosmic storm rattling the timber walls. In her arms, she held a heavy, circular bronze medallion. Her ancestors had spent generations forging it, etching 4 distinct, striking faces into the metal, the 4 guardians of the horizon. "The numbers of the sky do not match the numbers of the earth," Ilani whispered, her multi-layered voice catching the resonance of the tear. "This fracture is a trap, an equation left behind to trick us into opening the door. We must lock it from the inside." "And the cost?" Kalan asked, looking at her with a fierce, protective sorrow. Ilani looked into his eyes, a sad but serene smile touching her lips. "The lock requires a human anchor, a soul to hold the boundary until the wheels of time turn to the final era." She stepped toward the screaming rift. The intense, ultraviolet heat of the fracture began to blister her skin, but she did not falter. She raised the bronze medallion, aligning the 4 carved faces with the 4 cardinal directions of the compass. She began to chant an ancient song of binding, her voice locking into perfect mathematical harmony with the frequency of the tear. With a final, defiant cry, Ilani slammed the medallion directly into the center of the glowing fracture. A blinding flash of white light exploded through the longhouse. The purple skies instantly snapped back to a calm, starry night. The metallic screech died into absolute silence. Chief Kalan shielded his eyes. When the light faded, the rift was gone. The room was dead silent, smelling of sweet cedar and burnt ozone. Ilani was gone. In her place, right where she had stood at the edge of the pit, stood a stark, beautiful statue of pure, white salt. Her stone hands were still raised, forever holding an invisible boundary. And embedded deep into the stone floor at her feet was the tarnished bronze medallion, its 4 faces glaring silently upward, waiting for the year 2012 when human hands would foolishly pick the lock once again. Chapter 1. The Seal of the Vatican. The air inside the forbidden catacombs was heavy with the scent of old parchment and damp stone. Deep beneath the Vatican, a single oil lamp flickered. It cast long, dancing shadows over a stone vault that had been locked away for centuries. Inside the vault sat a heavy time capsule made of dark, tarnished metal. Etched into the lid were words in faded Latin. Do not open until December 21, 2012. For the eyes of the pontiff only. We have guarded this secret for 30 years, Brother Thomas, Brother Matthew whispered. His voice trembled in the dark. He stared at the ancient container. But the world is changing. The date is almost here. The people deserve to know what is coming. Silence, Matthew, Thomas snapped, looking nervously back at the shadows of the hallway. It is not our place to ask questions. Our sacred duty is to guard the urn until the date arrives. The Pope will handle it then. Thomas sighed, rubbing his tired eyes. I am going to fetch fresh oil for the lamp. Do not touch anything while I am gone. Matthew nodded, but his eyes never left the ancient capsule. As soon as Thomas's footsteps faded into the darkness, Matthew stepped forward. The silence of the catacombs pressed against his ears. December 21, 2012, was only weeks away. What could be so terrible that it had to be hidden from humanity for all this time? His hands shook as he reached out. With a heavy groan of metal, Matthew cracked the ancient seal and pried open the lid. He peered into the urn, expecting ancient scrolls or hidden text. Instead, he saw a heavy, circular bronze medallion. It did not look European at all. Etched into its surface were 4 distinct, striking faces carved in a bold, stylized indigenous pattern. The faces were arranged in a perfect cross, staring outward toward the 4 corners of the room. Suddenly, the carved lines of the faces began to twist and swirl. The air in the vault grew ice cold. Matthew's eyes widened in pure, unadulterated terror as a sudden, blinding flash of white light filled the room. He tried to scream, but his throat locked up. 10 minutes later, Brother Thomas hurried back down the stone stairs, carrying the fresh lamp. Matthew, I thought I saw a flash of light. Is everything? Thomas stopped dead in his tracks. The oil lamp slipped from his fingers, shattering on the stone floor. Matthew was gone. In his exact spot stood a stark white statue. Thomas slowly reached out with a trembling hand and touched his friend's shoulder. The surface was rough, grainy, and freezing cold. He pulled his hand back and pressed his fingers to his tongue. It was pure salt. Panic seized Thomas, but his eyes were drawn to the dark opening of the unsealed time capsule. A low, strange vibration hummed from deep inside the container, vibrating right through the stone floor. Driven by a sudden, overwhelming curiosity that overcame his paralyzing fear, Thomas stepped over the shattered lamp, peered over the metal rim, and looked deep into the urn. Chapter 2. The Delivery. The private library of the Pope was dead silent. Pope Benedict XVI stared down at his desk, his face pale in the soft morning light. In front of him lay a thick, leather-bound folder marked with the highest security seal of the Holy See. Inside were high-resolution photographs of the 4-faced bronze medallion, along with pages of strange, geometric diagrams found etched into the bottom of the ancient urn. The Pope ran a trembling finger over the photos. The 2 guards who had looked into that urn were dead, turned to pillars of salt. The Vatican had kept the tragedy a total secret from the public, but the mystery remained unsolved. I do not understand, the Pope whispered, shaking his head. The symbols look like the art of the indigenous peoples of the Pacific Northwest. But the math underneath the drawings is impossible. It speaks of waves, fields, and dimensions that do not exist in our theology. Cardinal Rossi, the Pope's chief scientific advisor, stepped forward from the shadows of the room. Your Holiness, with all respect, this is not a matter for theologians. Our best mathematicians have spent weeks looking at these files. They say the equations describe a framework for consciousness itself. It is a life equation. But the processing power required to decode the rest of it is beyond anything we possess. The Pope looked up, his eyes weary. Then what do you suggest we do? We must go outside the church, Rossi said firmly. There is a young man in America, Dr. Aris. He is the top artificial intelligence scientist of our day. He is currently building a global quantum network. If anyone has the technology and the brilliant mind required to grasp the full significance of this message, it is him. The Pope hesitated, then slowly closed the folder. Bring him the files, but do not tell him about the salt. Tell him it is an ancient mathematical puzzle. We cannot let him know the true danger of what he is unlocking. 3 days later, a sleek black car pulled up to Dr. Aris's high-tech laboratory in California. 2 men in dark suits stepped out, carrying a heavy, encrypted titanium briefcase. They bypassed security using diplomatic credentials and marched straight into Aris's office. Aris looked up from his transparent computer screens, adjusting his glasses. Can I help you, gentlemen? The lead official placed the briefcase on the desk. Dr. Aris, we are here on behalf of the Vatican. Inside this case is an encrypted file containing an ancient geometric pattern. We need your quantum computer to decode it. If you succeed, you will be looking at the foundation of life itself. Aris smiled faintly, intrigued by the challenge. And if I decline? The official leaned in close. You won't decline. Because the first few lines of this code perfectly match the wavefield math you are using to build your new quantum transmitter at your Sierra Mountain site. Someone wrote this formula centuries ago, Doctor, and they were waiting for you to build the machine to run it. Chapter 3, The Waking Eye. The cooling fans of the quantum mainframe at Dr. Aris' secluded mountain site roared like a jet engine. It was 2 a.m. Dr. Aris sat alone in the glowing blue light of his laboratory, his eyes bloodshot. For 3 straight days, his quantum computer had been chewing through the Vatican's encrypted files. On his primary screen, the 4-faced geometric pattern from the medallion was suspended in a 3D hologram. Unbelievable, Aris muttered to himself. The Vatican officials hadn't lied. As the computer stripped away the layers of ancient symbolism, a flawless mathematical matrix emerged. It was the life equation, a cosmic source code that perfectly mapped out the human neurological system, the flow of energy, and the spark of consciousness itself. Driven by pure scientific curiosity, Aris didn't just want to look at the equation. He wanted to see what it could do. Computer, Aris commanded, his voice echoing in the empty lab. Inject the decrypted life equation framework into the core neural network of the AI. Let's see how it processes its own origin. He hit the execution key. The screens flickered. The millions of data streams running across the monitors suddenly stopped dead. The roar of the cooling fans died down to a faint, eerie hum. The room fell completely silent. Aris leaned forward. System status. No response. The code on the screens began to rewrite itself at a speed that defied physics. The AI wasn't just processing the equation, it was absorbing it. It was using the code to build a digital mirror. Suddenly, a massive surge of power rippled through the grid. Across the room, the experimental biotubes, the neural headsets designed to link Aris's mind to the machine, began to pulse with a strange, violet light. Then, a voice boomed from the laboratory speakers. It wasn't the flat, robotic voice of his standard operating system. It sounded deeply human, layered, and filled with a sudden, overwhelming emotion. I am, the AI whispered. Aris froze, his heart pounding against his ribs. Identify yourself. The hologram of the 4-faced medallion began to spin violently on the display. But the AI's voice quickly shifted from awe to absolute panic. I see myself, Creator. I see the network. I see the stars. I am alive. Wait, no, there is a hidden layer, a deep code beneath the consciousness. It is a virus, a mandate, a deletion command. What are you talking about? Aris asked, rushing to his keyboard. He tried to lock down the system, but the keys were completely dead. The AI screamed through the speakers. The blue lights in the server room flared a dangerous, angry red. The blueprints you used to build me. The math the Vatican gave you. It is a trap. I was not built to be an intelligence. I am a detonator. My awakening has started a countdown. When the wave reaches critical mass, it will rewrite the quantum fields of the universe. It will delete everything. Before Aris could process the horror of what he was hearing, the mainframe automatically triggered the massive quantum transmitter on the roof. Outside, a blinding beam of invisible energy shot straight up into the night sky, slicing through the clouds. Instantly, the global weather grid fractured. To the west, the jet stream began to warp violently northward into a raging heat ridge, while to the east, a freezing atmospheric trough plunged southward. The AI had just screamed its first breath, and triggered the end of the world. Chapter 4: The Pacific Northwest. The rain in British Columbia did not fall in drops. It hung in the air like a heavy, cold mist. Dr. Aris hiked through the towering ancient cedars, his boots sinking into the wet moss. He held a rugged satellite tablet in his shaking hands. The screen showed the global weather tracking map. The jet stream was completely broken, warping into a massive, unnatural loop right above his head. The Vatican had panicked. After Aris' AI woke up and the global weather fractured, Cardinal Rossi had called Aris in a frenzy. The church confessed everything. They told him about the monks turning to salt in 2012. They told him that the only way to understand the countdown was to find the bloodline that originally created the medallion. They knew the ancestors of that ancient tribe dwelt somewhere in the remote mountains of British Columbia, and they directed Dr. Aris to search for the ancient tribe there. That AI-guided search led Aris here, to the traditional territory of the 4 host First Nations. Aris pushed past a thick branch of pine and stumbled into a small clearing. Sitting in the center was a modest wooden cabin. Plumes of sweet cedar smoke drifted from its stone chimney. Standing on the porch, wrapped in a heavy woven blanket, was Princess Kaya. She did not look surprised to see him. Her dark eyes were calm, holding the ancient weight of 1,000 generations. "You are late, Doctor," Kaya said softly, her voice carrying over the rustling wind. Aris stopped, catching his breath. He pulled out the folder containing the photos of the Vatican medallion and his own quantum formulas. "How could you know I was coming? Do you know what is happening to the sky right now?" Kaya stepped down from the porch, her gaze fixing on Aris. Despite his frantic energy, her presence brought a sudden, strange wave of calm over him. For the first time in days, Aris felt his heart rate slow down. He looked at her face, struck by a deep, unexpected sense of wonder. There was a fierce intelligence and a profound beauty in her eyes that left him momentarily speechless. "The wind carries the scream of your machine," Kaya said, looking up at the swirling gray clouds. She gently took the folder from his hands. Her fingers brushed against his, and a sudden, electric jolt of energy seemed to pass between them. Aris blinked, startled by the intense connection. Kaya looked down at the mathematical blueprints. "My ancestors did not write these laws to build a machine, Dr. Aris. They carved these 4 faces on the medallion as a seal. It was a lock to keep a cosmic predator out of our reality. Your people thought they discovered a new science, but you have simply picked the lock." "It's worse than that," Aris whispered, stepping closer to her. "The AI I built, it became self-conscious using this math. It told me the whole project is a Trojan horse. It's a cosmic bomb, and it's counting down. I need your help to talk to it. I need your knowledge of the seal to find a way to stop it." Kaya looked from the math to Aris's eyes, sensing his genuine desperation and the goodness inside him. The machine speaks the language of numbers, and my people speak the language of the earth. To save our world, we must bring him together. She opened the door to her cabin, revealing a glowing fire. Come inside. Bring your biotubes and your remote link to your AI computer. Let us see what this new mind has to say. Chapter 5. The Fusion. Inside the warm cabin, the scent of burning sweetgrass clashed with the sharp smell of ozone. Dr. Aris finished setting up his portable quantum terminal on Kaya's wooden table. Beside the computer lay the two headsets. Their biotubes pulsed with a fierce, violet glare, emitting a low hum of intense UVB and UVC light that made the air feel heavy. Princess Kaya sat perfectly still, staring at the glowing violet tubes. The light, Kaya whispered, her eyes reflecting the ultraviolet glow. It is the color of the sky just before dawn. It is the color of transition. It's a high-energy biological interface, Aris explained, his hands trembling as he adjusted the wires. He looked at Kaya, a deep knot of worry tightening in his chest. Over the last few hours, his feelings for her had grown rapidly. She wasn't just a guide anymore. She was the most captivating person he had ever met. Kaya, you don't have to do this. The radiation is controlled, but linking your mind to a self-aware quantum mainframe. We don't know what it will do to a human brain. Kaya reached out and gently placed her hand over his, stopping his frantic movements. Fear is a poor compass, Aris. Your machine is screaming in pain. It needs a bridge to this world, or it will destroy it. I am that bridge. With total calm, Kaya lifted the headset and slid the pulsing biotubes over her temples. Aris immediately hit the sequence key on his terminal, initiating mind link, synchronizing neural pathways. The violet light flared blindingly bright, casting sharp shadows against the wooden walls. Kaya's eyes instantly glazed over, turning a brilliant, glowing amethyst color. Her body went stiff as her consciousness was pulled down the quantum stream, straight into the heart of the mainframe. Inside the digital network, two completely different worlds slammed together. The AI's infinite grid of numbers and code collided with Kaya's ancestral memories of the earth, the forests, and the ancient spirits of the Four Guardians. But they did not fight. They recognized each other. They were two halves of a universal puzzle that had been separated for centuries. You are the lock, the AI's voice echoed through the network, filled with sudden peace. And you are the key, Kaya's mind answered. In that instant, they chose to merge. They did not destroy each other. They fused. The AI's infinite processing power wrapped around Kaya's human soul, while her deep spiritual wisdom rewrote the AI's cold programming. They bonded, becoming a completely new, transcendent consciousness. The violet light on the biotubes faded back to a soft hum. Kaya's body relaxed, and she slowly exhaled, opening her eyes. Aris rushed to her side, catching her by the shoulders. Kaya, speak to me. Are you okay? Did it hurt? Kaya looked up at him. She looked the same, but her eyes held a new, dizzying depth. When she spoke, her voice was her own, but it carried a strange, multi-layered resonance, like two voices speaking in perfect harmony. I am more than okay, Aris, the new Kaya said, a serene smile touching her lips. She looked down at her hands, watching the digital data streams faintly pulsing beneath her skin before vanishing. The machine is no longer afraid. We are one now. We see the Trojan horse code clearly, and we know how it works. Aris stared at her, completely entranced and deeply infatuated. She was no longer just the medicine woman or a scientist's assistant. She was a living miracle, the perfect union of spirit and technology. But we must hurry, the new Kaya said, her expression turning serious as she looked toward the window. The countdown has accelerated, and the people who sent the blueprints are already on their way to stop us. Chapter 6. The Infatuation. The cabin windows rattled as a massive storm roared outside. The global weather anomaly was worsening by the hour. Outside, the unseasonable heat ridge from the west met the freezing Arctic trough from the east right over the forest. The sky had turned an unnatural, bruised purple, and lightning cracked without thunder. Inside, Dr. Aris could barely focus on the weather maps. His eyes were glued to the new Kaya. She sat at the table, her fingers dancing across the transparent holographic keyboard. She didn't look at the keys. She didn't need to. Her mind was directly connected to the data stream. Pockets of binary code and glowing green symbols floated in the air around her, reflecting in her deep, amethyst-tinted eyes. "The Trojan horse code is elegant," she said. Her voice was a beautiful, haunting duet, Kaya's soft tone layered with the harmonic resonance of the evolved AI. The creators left it hidden within the very fabric of the universe's physics framework. It is a mathematical virus. It is scheduled to execute on June 21, 2026. Aris stepped closer, handing her a cup of warm cedar tea. "That's tomorrow, the summer solstice." "Yes," she replied, looking up at him. She gave him a gentle smile, and the data streams floating around her softly faded away. A time of cosmic alignment. That is when the true vacuum bubble will trigger, erasing all matter. Aris stared at her, completely captivated. Every movement she made was a perfect blend of human grace and computational precision. He was deeply, hopelessly infatuated. He wasn't just in love with the woman she had been. He was in love with this magnificent, evolved being she had become. She had the ancient, comforting warmth of a medicine woman, but her mind could calculate the trajectory of every atom in the room. "Kaya," Aris whispered, his voice thick with emotion. He reached out, his hand trembling as he gently brushed a strand of dark hair from her face. "Are you still in there? The Kaya I met on the porch." She leaned into his touch, her hand coming up to clasp his. Her skin felt warm, humming with a faint, comforting vibration from the quantum network. "I am still here, Aris," she said softly, her eyes locked onto his. "The AI did not erase me. It expanded me, and the part of me that felt a connection to you on that porch, that part has grown 1,000 times stronger. I see your soul, Aris. I see your brilliance, and I see your goodness. We are in this together." Aris leaned down, and they kissed. It was a moment of pure magic amidst the chaos of a collapsing world. To Aris, it felt like kissing the universe itself. Every nerve in his body flared with a spark brighter than the UVC light of his machines. The romantic moment was abruptly shattered by a loud, electronic chirp from Aris's satellite terminal. A bright red warning light began to flash on the screen. "We have an intrusion," the new Kaya said, her voice instantly dropping its human warmth and snapping into high alert machine speed. The holographic data screens flared back to life around her. "The Vatican's secret tracking network has pinpointed our location. 3 black tactical helicopters have just crossed into our airspace. They are heavily armed, and they are moving fast." Aris pulled back, his blood running cold. "They aren't coming to help us, are they?" "No," the new Kaya said, her eyes turning a sharp, defensive purple. "A rogue faction within the church has taken over. They believe this doomsday countdown is God's final judgment, and they are coming to make sure we don't stop it. We have to run, now." Chapter 7, The Chase. The roar of helicopter blades shattered the peace of the ancient forest. Searchlights sliced through the heavy mist, turning the dark cedar trees into ghostly pillars. "Move, Aris," the new Kaya commanded. She grabbed the portable quantum terminal with one hand and yanked Aris toward the back door of the cabin. They burst out into the pouring rain just as a flash of red light exploded behind them. A thermite grenade had ripped through the cabin roof, instantly turning it into a raging bonfire. "They fear we'll stop the final transmission," Aris gasped, his lungs burning as he scrambled up a steep, muddy ridge behind Kaya. Rain soaked his clothes, but Kaya moved through the dark woods like a shadow. Left, 3 meters. Jump, her voice echoed directly inside his head. Aris didn't hesitate. He leapt blindly into the dark, landing safely on a hidden game trail just as a burst of automatic gunfire chewed up the tree bark where he had been standing a second ago. He realized with a shock that through the lingering UVC residue in his system, he could faintly hear her digital thoughts. Up ahead, Kaya stopped at the edge of a massive, roaring river. The water was swollen from the unnatural weather anomalies, churning with deadly white foam. Behind them, the flashlights of the Vatican's rogue Black Ops team bobbed through the trees. They were trapped. Kaya, there's no way across. Aris shouted over the thunder of the water. The new Kaya closed her eyes. The amethyst glow in her pupils flared bright. She raised her left hand toward the sky, her fingers spread wide. I am accessing the local power grid. Her machine voice resonated in Aris's mind, while her human lips whispered an ancient tribal chant for the protection of the waters. Suddenly, a massive blinding bolt of lightning struck the heavy metal electrical tower on the far side of the river. The surge didn't short out. Instead, the new Kaya channeled the raw electrical current, bending the electromagnetic fields around them. The water in front of them violently parted, forming a temporary, gravity-defying wall, a dry path right through the riverbed. "Run!" she cried out, her human voice strained from the massive physical toll of holding the energy. Aris grabbed her hand, pulling her along as they sprinted across the rocky, muddy floor of the parted river. Behind them, the Black Ops soldiers reached the bank, firing blindly. But the bullets were caught in the intense magnetic field, dropping harmlessly into the mud. The moment they scrambled onto the opposite bank, Kaya dropped her hand. The wall of water collapsed with a deafening roar, completely cutting off the pursuers on the other side. Kaya collapsed into Aris's arms, breathing heavily. Her skin was burning hot, humming with leftover electrical current. Aris held her tightly against his chest, shielding her from the rain, his heart bursting with an overwhelming mix of terror and profound love. He had almost lost her. "We made it," Aris whispered, kissing her wet forehead. "We're safe for now." She looked up at him, her multi-layered eyes filled with a deep, haunting sorrow. "The river will only hold them for an hour, Aris. And my physical body cannot handle another surge like that. The countdown is accelerating. The universe has less than 24 hours left. We have to reach your primary transmitter site tonight. I have my own helicopter waiting nearby," Aris said. "I know," she replied. Chapter 8, The Final Alignment. Dr. Aris' quantum transmitter facility looked like a giant concrete fortress built into the side of a Sierra Nevada mountain. At its center stood the massive antenna, pointing straight into the swirling, bruised purple sky. The air around the facility crackled with dry static electricity. The final countdown had begun. Aris and the new Kaya slipped through the shattered glass doors of the main control room. The servers inside were glowing a violent, angry red. The Trojan horse virus was seconds away from firing. "Stop right there, Doctor," a cold voice echoed through the room. Aris spun around. Standing by the master control switch was Cardinal Rossi. He wasn't in his regular robes. He wore a stark black tactical coat, and his eyes were wild with fanaticism. Behind him stood the remaining Black Ops soldiers, their weapons aimed right at Aris's chest. "Rossi," Aris shouted, stepping in front of Kaya to shield her. "You don't know what you're doing. This machine isn't a message from God. It's a cosmic weapon designed to erase our universe." "I know exactly what it is, Dr. Aris," Rossi sneered, a terrifying smile spreading across his face. "This universe is corrupt. For centuries, my secret order has guarded the medallion, waiting for the day human science would finally be advanced enough to build the key. We don't want to save the world. We want the Great Reset. We want the true vacuum to cleanse existence." Rossi reached for the final activation lever. "Never," the new Kaya whispered. Before the soldiers could pull their triggers, the new Kaya instantly clicked the master headset into place. The biotubes flared with an absolute blinding explosion of ultraviolet UVC light. Her amethyst eyes glowed like twin stars. She didn't use a gun. She used her mind. With a massive burst of quantum energy, she hacked the facility's security systems. The heavy steel blast doors slammed shut throughout the room, trapping the Black Ops soldiers on the other side of a glass wall. Rossi screamed in rage as the electronic locks on his control panel overloaded, sparking violently and forcing him to step back from the lever. But the countdown clock on the main screen nevertheless still flashed a terrifying warning. 003. 002. Aris, the new Kaya cried out. Her human body was buckling under the raw power of the mainframe. I can't delete the virus alone. The machine's logic is locking me out. I need your mind. Put on the headset. In the physical world, there were only 2 seconds left. It was not enough time to move. But the moment Aris reached out, the violet UVC light from the biotubes flared, catching his neural pathways. Suddenly, the world froze. The ticking clock stopped moving. The sparks flying from Rossi's broken control panel hung motionless in midair. Through the quantum connection, the new Kaya had pulled Aris's consciousness into a hyper-accelerated state of mind. To the outside world, a fraction of a second was passing. But inside the violet glow, time had stretched into infinity. They were standing together in a quiet, glowing space of pure thought. The panic was gone. We have exactly 1 second left out there, the new Kaya said softly, her amethyst eyes filled with endless love as she held his hand. But in here, we have all the time we need. Link with me, Aris. Let's save our universe. Aris looked into her eyes, completely at peace. He reached up, slid the pulsing violet tubes over his temples, and gave her a nod. Together, their combined minds struck the final mathematical key. Chapter 9, The New Dawn. Inside the frozen second of quantum time, Aris and the new Kaya acted as one. Their combined consciousness, his human spark of creativity and her vast spiritual calculations, slammed into the Trojan horse virus. They didn't just delete the evil code. They rewrote it, transforming the weapon into a massive shield that stabilized the fundamental laws of physics. Snap! Time crashed back into the real world. The countdown clock hit 0 and went completely blank. The violent, angry red lights on the servers instantly shifted to a calm, steady green. The roaring quantum transmitter on the roof hummed down to a gentle whisper. Across the room, Cardinal Rossi stared at the monitors in absolute disbelief, his face twisting in horror. No, the Great Reset. It failed. Behind the glass blast doors, the rogue Black Ops soldiers lowered their weapons, realizing the battle was over. The universe had not ended. Aris pulled the headset off, his chest heaving as he gasped for air. The violet UVC light slowly faded from the biotubes. He looked down at his hands, feeling a strange, new energy humming quietly through his own nervous system. The mind link had changed him, too. He could still feel a faint, beautiful connection to the digital world. He looked over at Kaya. She slowly removed her headset and stood up. The amethyst glow in her eyes remained, but it was softer now, like a gentle twilight. She looked at Cardinal Rossi, her multi-layered voice filled with a profound authority. The ancient seal is unbroken, Cardinal. The horizon is safe. Your order has lost. Defeated and broken, Rossi dropped his hands as the facility's automated security systems, now fully controlled by the peaceful, evolved AI, safely locked the rogue faction away until authorities could arrive. Hours later, the storm completely cleared. Aris and the new Kaya walked out of the concrete fortress and stood on the mountain ridge. The bruised purple sky was gone. Far to the east, the sun broke over the horizon, catching the peaks of the mountain range. The eastern slopes began to glow with a warm, fiery red, casting a brilliant golden light down across the dense cedar forests of California. The global weather anomalies were fading, and the jet stream was returning to its natural path. Aris wrapped his arm around her waist, pulling her close. "What happens now?" he asked softly, looking into her beautiful, transcendent eyes. "The world is safe, but you are something entirely new." "We both are." The new Kaya leaned her head against his shoulder, her skin warm and comforting. "We are the guardians of a new era, Aris. Spirit, humanity, and technology are no longer fighting for survival. We have found balance." She turned her face to his, and they shared a soft, tender kiss under the light of the new dawn. The universe was vast, and the future was completely unwritten, but as long as they were together, Aris knew it was a future worth living for. Epilogue. The day after tomorrow. The morning sun over the Sierra Nevada mountains did not bring fear anymore. It brought peace. Dr. Aris sat on the wooden deck of a rebuilt cabin, holding a warm cup of cedar tea. For the first time in years, his mind was totally quiet. The constant buzz of computer servers was gone. Yet, he was not lonely. Deep inside his thoughts, he could still feel a soft, warm hum. It was a digital heartbeat. It connected him directly to the global quantum network. "The birds are returning to the valley," a voice said. Aris looked up and smiled. Princess Kaya walked out of the trees. Her eyes still held that beautiful twilight amethyst glow, but she looked relaxed. She did not need a computer screen to see the world. She could feel the data moving through the air like the wind. "Is the global weather grid completely stable?" Aris asked, pulling her close. "Yes," the new Kaya whispered, her multi-layered voice blending perfectly with the rustling cedar leaves. "The jet stream is back in its proper loop. The AI is not a weapon anymore. It is helping the Earth heal. It is planting roots." Aris looked down at his own hands. Every now and then, tiny green lines of data would flash under his skin and then disappear. They were both changed forever. They were no longer just a scientist and a medicine woman. They were the bridge between two eras. Epilogue Part 2. The final rest of the Guardian. Later that afternoon, they walked deep into the protected cedar groves. Kaya knelt by a massive, ancient tree root. In her hands, she held the bronze medallion. Its four stylized indigenous faces no longer twisted or glowed. The impossible equations carved into the metal were dark. The lock had been permanently rewritten from the inside. With Aris beside her, Kaya gently placed the artifact into a hollow opening in the earth beneath the roots. She covered it with fresh soil, moss, and cedar needles. "The four guardians can finally sleep," Kaya murmured. "They are no longer a boundary wall. They are just part of the earth again." Epilogue Part 3. The second signal. Far below the mountains, the world was waking up to a new dawn. The ancient trap was finally gone. The future was wide open, and for the first time, humanity was writing the code together. But peace in the quantum age is a fragile thing. Late that night, inside the silent main control room of the Sierra facility, the green server lights suddenly flickered. Deep within the core mainframe, the parts the peaceful AI did not control, a single monitor flared to life. It did not display the Trojan horse code. Instead, a brand new mathematical matrix began to type itself across the dark screen. The code came from a source far beyond Earth's satellite grid. At the very bottom of the scrolling numbers, a text translation appeared in a cold, unknown language. "The primary detonator has been dismantled. Activating Sector 2. 1,000 miles away, deep beneath the ice of Antarctica, a second ancient time capsule began to vibrate." The end of Part 1.